Hey, Gemini Rising. This is Chantalee, and today I want to talk to you about what the full moon in Ashwini, the full moon in Aries on October 17th means for you, your personal development and your brand. I'm a Vedic astrologer and I'm also a brand strategy coach. And I like to use brand strategy coaching, Vedic astrology, and tarot to help you get a better understanding of who you are and how understanding who you are can create more brand authenticity and confidence and clarity, okay, for you and your audience. So let's go ahead and get into this. How would this new moon, what does this full moon in Ashwini/Aries mean for Gemini rising? Well, you have Aries in your first house. And yeah, Aries in your first house, there could be a lot of, so we have Aries, which can represent, I'm sorry about my dogs. We have like 80,000, just about 80,000.1 dogs. So every time I don't do these readings in my house, I do them in my camper outside, and the dogs are outside, and the kennels outside, and we have a lot. So you're going to hear them. Sometimes they have little attitudes with each other, but they'll be all right. So as I talk about attitudes and being angry, the dog started, trying to demonstrate what I was talking about. But Aries can represent frustration and anger and things like that. And Aries is where the full moon is going to be. But Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in your first house right now, Gemini rising. So when you mix the energy of Mars with what I just said, anger and frustration and things like that, with Gemini, which represents communication, that's something that you want to be aware of in your communication through your brand and through your personal development. So in your brand, you want to make sure that you're not coming to your client sessions or social media or, networking or anything like that with the energy of communicating in anger. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that your focus, your communication is focused, which is another representation of Mars, which is being focused and hardworking. So that might be what you want to communicate about, but leave the frustration and anger and all that, leave that to the side, okay? So what does the full moon in Ashwini is going to be? The full moon is going to be in your 11th house, Gemini rising. So what does the full moon in Ashwini, what does the full moon in Aries mean for Gemini rising? Here it comes. All right. The King of Forces. And it's reverse. So I'm going to, the King of Forces reverse. This is leading me to your mind. The King of Forces reverse is a doozy, okay? The King of Forces reverse is a narcissist, okay? So you want to make sure that you don't allow anyone to control. And I think I've said this before, one of the other readings. But Gemini also is ruled by Mercury. Mercury represents communication, like I said before, but it also represents your mind. It represents your mind. So Gemini, knowing that Mercury and Gemini represents your mind and how you think, and then you have Aries there. Gemini, what is this? The King of Forces. It's ruled by all the fire signs. And it's a lot of energy, and it's a lot of energy that is self-focused. It only cares about itself. So what I'm trying to get to is you want to make sure you're not being controlled. Your mind and your communication is not being controlled by someone who is only thinking about themselves, by someone who has some type of, who stands to benefit from you getting angry and communicating with anger and having angry thoughts on your mind. You want to make sure that you're not giving anyone the power to know what can make you angry. Why would you give somebody that power? Be like, you know what makes me mad? And then tell them, and then they'd be like, trigger, 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 and try to make you mad on purpose and make you lose your energy. So protect your mind, protect your communication. Don't let this King of Wands reversed energy stop you from doing what you need to do with your personal development and with your brand. You're in control. It's your life. No one can control it but you. So make sure you remember that. And I'm going to clarify. I'm going to clarify with the card. Please clarify this King of Wands energy for Gemini Rising. All right. White Eagle, ancestor spirit, connect with your lineage. A family wound or pattern can be healed now. Gemini Rising. Okay, so the I'll just say planet. It's not a planet, but the planet that rules Ashwini, where the full moon is going to be in your 11th house. K2 rules Ashwini in your 11th house. K2 also reminds me of this nakshatra. Oh, we Gemini. This is the heaviest reading I got so far. So Aries and Taurus was not this heavy, but for you, it feels really heavy. It feels like there's some generational stuff that needs to be worked out when it comes to 11th house things and when it comes to your brand. Okay. It seems like there are some ancestral issues that need to be worked out when it comes to how you earn your money. Make sure that you're breaking any generational curses when it comes to your money, when it comes to your networking, friendships, and associations. That's something else that's represented by the 11th house. When it comes to your dreams and your wishes, what you want to manifest. Make sure you're breaking ancestral curses, generational curses. Gemini rising. Make sure you're breaking generational and ancestral curses when it comes to what you earn. That's another 11th house thing. Break that. Break it, break it, break it, break it. You have the power. There's not any generational curse, ancestral curse that's more powerful than you. It only is more powerful than you if you believe that it is. So understand that you have the power, Gemini, to break any curses that are, let me tell you something else. And let me tell you something else, Gemini rising. You are so powerful because this is a perfect time. Gemini rising. This is a perfect time for you so I was looking at prayers and spells and manifestations that you can do during the full moon in Aries. And one of those things are road openers. Okay, road opener spells and prayers. So that's because Aries is a trailblazer. Aries does things in a new way, a new beginning. And if you know the story of the Orishas, Ogun, Ogun was an Orisha who had like I don't know what, I can't remember the type of knife he had, but it had like a big knife because he had to have a big knife to cut away all the stuff that was in front of him because he was going to be the first one to go down the path that he was going down. Nobody else had went down that path. So he had to go down that path, just cutting away, getting things out the way, and just moving things out the way because he's a trailblazer. He's all about new beginnings. And Ashwini is about transportation and movement. So it's really important for you to focus on removing whatever's blocking you. Now, I said generational and ancestral curses, and that's still true. You might need to reflect on that and see what you need to do about that. Know that you have the power to do something about that. But also, with you being Gemini rising, it makes me think of another Orisha, which is what is his name? Eshu. And Eshu is the one that you need to connect to when it comes to opening roads and paths. Because for me, Eshu, or I'm trying to think of the other name that he has that's kind of negative to some people, but he helps you to unblock roads and paths, and also has a connection with Mercury. And Mercury is the planet that rules your first house if you're Gemini rising. Where is Mercury at during this full moon? Mercury is going to be, let me focus. I got so excited. Let me focus. Where is Mercury going to be? I cannot think of where is Mercury? Okay, so while I'm my mind will not let me think of it. So I guess if you try to wonder about where Mercury is going to be, then it could be limiting for you. So just know that you have the power to know and connect with what is blocking your paths and your roads, what your challenges are, and how to remove them. And so focus on that. That is what's going to help you. Okay. Now, I'm going to remind you of these cards and I'm going to move to the next thing. Don't be controlled. So don't be controlled by people in this life, someone who benefits by you being out of control with your mouth and with your mind. And also make sure, oh, this sun is doing the fool. Okay. Also, make sure that you're breaking generational curses that are blocking your networking, blocking your money, blocking your dreams and wishes, blocking your also the 11th house has a connection with your oldest brother. So I don't know where your oldest brother plays into this for some, but you're just removing, getting things out the way. It's nothing more that you need to do. It's things that you need to remove. The sun is going down something serious right now. All right. So that is what I have for you, Gemini rising, for your brand. And I will talk to you next time. And remember that your brand is sacred.